Could a single moment of vulnerability break the heart of even the strongest soldier? On Jungkook's last day of military service, something happened that shook everyone to their core, especially one senior soldier who couldn't hold back the tears. What does it mean when a global superstar becomes more than an idol and leaves an indelible mark on those who serve beside him? What stories unfold behind the gates where national duty meets personal connection? And how does a farewell, captured in quiet emotion, remind us that true heroism sometimes lies in tears? As dawn broke on the day Jungkook stood at the military base gate for the final time in uniform, the air was thick with anticipation and something deeper, more fragile than any gear or drill. This wasn't just a farewell ceremony. For Jungkook, leader of BTS who once carried a world's expectations on his shoulders, this was a departure from another kind of duty, a dream he embraced with humility, respect, and resolve. The quiet murmur of soldiers lined up, the flash of cameras held at a respectful distance, and the hush of any soldier's last formation commands. Among them stood a senior soldier, Captain Lee, whose name may be unknown to most, but whose journey in that moment reflected something universal. As Jungkook, composed yet brimming with emotion, gave his final salute, Captain Lee's unwavering calm began to crack. A single tear fell, and fans tapped for attention. Both lights flashed. There was only raw emotion. Captain Lee, who had trained countless recruits, faced untold stress, and remained stoic through high-pressure missions, could no longer hide his feelings. His uniform alone couldn't shield the depth of connection he'd formed with a man who'd once been famous for global cheers, but became, in that moment, a fellow soldier. What happened in that silent exchange? What did Jungkook say, or not say, that allowed Captain Lee to let go? According to those present, it was a simple gesture. Jungkook, stepping forward, placed his hand lightly on the older man's shoulder before turning attention back to the gate. That small touch, unspoken yet powerful, conveyed respect, gratitude, and shared sacrifice. It wasn't the first indication that Jungkook had earned something more than respect. From day one in his adopted military life, he did something rare. He listened. To hours of drill sergeants' lessons, to questions from rookies worried about adjustment, to the fatigue etched in every face at lights out. He didn't ask for special treatment. He didn't seek spotlight. Instead, he spoke quietly of his own struggles, fears, hopes, a vulnerable disclosure that made even career soldiers see themselves in him. Imagine the surprise of an officer who had braced for forced smiles and PR statements, only to find genuine humanity instead. That's the power Jungkook carried behind his uniform. And on his final day, when Captain Lee cried, he didn't hold back because the world recognized Jungkook. He held back because he recognized Jungkook, a fellow man who had served. What does this tell us about Jungkook's character? It speaks volumes. It says that when given the chance to start anew behind closed doors, away from the veneer of stardom, he chose authenticity over image. He embraced hardship over comfort. He formed bonds not of celebrity, but of shared experience. And for a man who had spent over a decade performing for thousands, it was in that unscripted morning salute and that tear-streaked face of his senior that his real legacy was engraved. This moment is more than a tear. It's a testament to the emotional power of service, human connection, and quiet strength. And as Jungkook re-enters civilian life, his role shifts once more. This time not as an idol, but as a national figure whose humility echoes stronger than any record-breaking hit. Across social media and insider accounts, that tearful captain has become a symbol, not of Jungkook's fame, but of the young man he truly is, compassionate, respectful, and deeply human. And while fans may rejoice in his return, those same fans now carry a new perspective, one tinged with respect for the man behind the microphone, molded just as powerfully by the grit of military life. Will Jungkook's post-service projects reflect this new depth? Will he use platforms to spotlight veteran stories, to build empathy beyond fandom? Perhaps the world will soon learn that the real hits are made not on stage, but in moments of shared humanity, like that sunrise salute. What do you think? Are we witnessing not just the end of Jungkook's military duty, but the beginning of his most meaningful chapter yet? The morning air over the base remained cool, but within hearts, something far warmer stirred. Jungkook's departure marked more than an end. It was a beginning, a bridge between stardom and service, between idol and individual. He walked forward with measured steps, but the weight on his shoulders was shared, a burden carried by all who knew the sacrifices of those who served. As the gate swung open one final time, Jungkook turned to face the formation. Eyes met his. Salutes flashed. And somewhere among them, hidden behind the rigid discipline, emotions overflowed. Captain Lee, jaw clenched to hold back tears, stood tall at attention. But Jungkook saw. He saw the human behind the rank. That small acknowledgement bridged a world of difference. Moments later, away from protocol and fans, Jungkook shared a quiet word with Captain Lee. "Thank you, sir, for everything." That was all. Just 2 sentences. But they carried years of hard work, empathy, and respect. For the next hour, Jungkook spoke to his fellow soldiers.
No cameras, no scripts.
Just conversation. He asked about their dreams, their fears, what they'd do after service. He listened. He laughed quietly at jokes about military food. He nodded through stories of grueling drills and lonely nights. More than once, knees buckled. Not just from fatigue, but from the raw humanity of the moment. And tears came. Not for him alone, but because Jungkook gave them something rare. Permission to feel, an army strong, an idol turned equal, a star who became one of them. Behind the base gates, fans waited in silence. They watched through monitors as Jungkook finally embraced his family, his mother, his father, those who had supported his journey from childhood to global letter. His tears fell freely, no longer hidden by rows of faux smiles. That was the ending we expected on paper. But the commitment he'd made inside those barracks, listening, bonding, lifting others, was the transformation we didn't see coming. Now free, Jungkook returned not only to army, but to the world of stories waiting for him to tell. Veterans shared moments. Civil servants passed on thanks. Fellow idols watched in awe. The boundaries of stardom just bitched in that uniform don't define a man. But his actions, quiet, sincere, humble, do. Where will he go from here? Only this much is clear. That day, Jungkook carried more than a microphone. He carried the emotions of every soldier who saw in him someone who understood. And that echo of compassion, of shared humanity, will continue to resonate long after the uniform has been hung up. The warmth of that morning whispers in every corner of the base now, subtle, yet unmistakable. Jungkook's final moments among his fellow soldiers weren't just departures. They were handshakes across divides, promises carried in silence, and tears unashamedly shed. He lingered at the last checkpoint, surrounded not by fans recounting chart-topping albums, but by the camaraderie of men and women whose watches had ratcheted in synchrony with his own routine. He paused to listen as a young conscript spoke of returning home to care for younger siblings. He nodded at another who confessed fear of losing purpose after discharge. Jungkook responded with a respectful, "You're not alone," sincerity etched in each thoughtful breath. Every conversation, every shared smile, felt like a quiet vow, a vow to honor their stories, to carry their voices forward as he resumed his own. Later, as he exited the compound, a breeze rustled the marched rows of soldiers, a final salute of nature. Jungkook lifted his gaze, full of gratitude, silent affirmation, renewed purpose. He walked out, not as an isolated idol returning to stage life, but as a brother stepping back into civilian hands, his heart carrying what he experienced of the soldiers' world. Fans watching through live feeds and unofficial streams felt the shift too. They weren't witnessing just a homecoming. They were bearing witness to transformation. Do you feel it? That sense that something in Jungkook is different now? A depth, a pause, a readiness to make his next chapter not just about music, but about meaning. Social media lit up. Not with fan edits or hype for upcoming comebacks, but with gratitude. Digital torches held high not just for the idol, but for the man who gave back his true presence to those who served beside him. Comments like, "I didn't expect him to open up like that, and he became one of them today," trended alongside gratitude gifts and reflective song revisions. Now the question turns toward what comes next. Will Jungkook channel this experience into his art? Into advocacy? Into conversations about veterans, mental resilience, national service itself? One thing is certain. Whatever he does, it will carry the echo of this farewell. A shoutless pulse that jolted both soldier and star. A reminder that fame doesn't protect you from human vulnerability or from the opportunity to heal, share, and rebuild on the other side of service. And this is precisely why this story isn't over. Because transformation doesn't end with a salute. It begins there and grows from every life you touch. The seeds of something greater have already been planted in that moment, and they will not be easily uprooted. Jungkook's final farewell did not echo across loudspeakers or through corporate announcements. Instead, it spread quietly, through confidences in barracks, through handwritten notes passed among soldiers, through unexpected tears in the eyes of hardened career men. The transformation was subtle, yet profound. He did not stride from the gate as an idol resuming his career. He stepped forward as a young man reborn by service, empathy, and newfound purpose. Consider this. Just moments after leaving the base, Jungkook reportedly had an unscheduled conversation with a group of young veterans at a community center. The news came from one volunteer coordinator who shared, off the record, that Jungkook didn't ask about photo ops. He didn't seek interviews. He simply spoke quietly about what keeps you steady at night, asked about family back home, and listened. That's not the behavior of a star craving validation. That's the soul of someone who has learned to stand equal, not above. That evening, a fan account posted something unusual. Not a stage medley, nor a polished teaser, but a heartfelt snapshot of Jungkook in a plain white t-shirt, listening with full attention to a single soldier's story. The caption read, "When he comes home, he's coming back, with everything we didn't know he carried." That snapshot has gone viral not for being stolen or sensational, but for its sincerity. So what comes next? Can music ever capture this depth? Or service? Or healing? Fans are already decoding his upcoming solo projects. The title rumored for his next single, Homeward Bound, feels laden with hidden layers. A few lines from an early leak. "In the still of dawn, I face myself," suggests lyrics steeped in authenticity rather than idol-crafted fantasy. Beyond music, there's talk of Jungkook possibly launching a foundation for fellow veterans. Something small at first: support networks, counseling, mentorship programs. Because having walked that path himself, he understands that the end of service isn't just a freedom stamp. It can sometimes feel like falling off a cliff without a parachute. And what of BTS? Will this new depth influence their eventual reunion? Some believe Jungkook's return to ARMY introduces a new chapter for the group's message. Growth not just as performers, but as people who have borne witness, served, and transformed. Their next album? Potentially the strongest yet, a fusion of their global energy with the humility Jungkook has carried home. Perhaps the biggest question echoing now is this: can an encounter between a soldier and an idol change not just a life, but a movement? If Jungkook's final salute and that tearful moment touch hearts and spur conversations about empathy, service, and emotional leadership, then yes, it can. Because the world doesn't just need stars who shine. It needs them to see, to understand, to stand among us, not above us. Jungkook steps forward. He carries more than memories. He carries purpose, and that purpose radiates beyond any stage. This is just the beginning of that purpose's journey, not the end. And for a man who has found his voice in silence, that could mean the most powerful comeback is still